Pricing is one of those things that every real estate agent must do. Whether you do it for a seller, for a listing presentation, for a real estate review, helping your buyers put the right offer in, or helping an investor, find the right home to get the right return on their money, you're going to have to price homes. I don't care if you're a buyer's agent, a seller's agent, a transaction broker, or a dual agency. You're going to price homes and figure out the competitive market value of a home at some point in your career. Now, most agents, when they're taught about pricing, we're really just focused on trying to get the right value. But the second you get into helping someone with to sell their house, it's very easy to get pulled into the thought and the feeling of, I want to get them the most money possible. How can I price as high as possible and get that offer in and really just help my clients get as much as they can? That is not your goal. Your goal is to get the market value and to guide them to the correct price so that they can get where they need to be on time. Now, in many cases, though, if you get the right market value, you're going to get the most value for the home and you're going to get them the most money, both in that purchase price, but because you get them there on time, you are going to save them costs, whether it be emotional or actual money costs on the back end. Now, because of that, overpricing is one of those things that you can really fall into the trap and really just find the dangers. So this video is all about the dangers of overpricing. And first, we're going to look at if you overprice in a depreciating market and what that can do to you. A few years back, when my dad actually started selling real estate, it was 2008. Guess what? It was a depreciating market. He started right before the collapse. Now, it's interesting to me because I was in college a couple years later, and we got to this section in my real estate class where the book talked about the theoretical possibility of a depreciating market. The teacher had to stop and point out, this is theoretical, but this actually can happen. When the book was written, they thought it was, just an exercise of belief that this is a situation that could possibly occur, but never really will because real estate always goes up. Well, we all learned that that's not always true. Now, when it came to pricing in this kind of market, my dad very quickly realized if you are right on and at the true market value, the house typically sold. Even with the crazy conditions and the amount of foreclosures going on and the depreciation happening, there were still some people out there looking that could see the right value when it was presented to them. So the real danger in a depreciating market and overpricing is time is money. If you have a house that is this value at the top and it's kind of going downhill, as it goes downhill, if you sit in the market and miss your time to sell, guess what? That house is now worth less. And as that continued more and more, every day you're losing some money. So the goal here was to price correctly, be super accurate, get market value right, and get that house under contract. And if you overpriced, you really hit the danger of losing money by the day. Now, that's pretty clear to see. That's pretty obvious. And a depreciating market is something that's, happened a couple times now in the last, 100 years. And who knows with this COVID situation of what will come out of it? Maybe we'll have a massive leap forward, and maybe we'll have a slight recession. Either way, pricing is important. Not overpricing and avoiding those dangers is really going to be a key to your business. So let's talk about what happens if you overprice in an appreciating market. Now, the old way of pricing was always thinking about an appreciating market. If you price too high, then guess what? You just have to wait longer for the market to catch up, and then you'll sell. For a long time, relocation companies and real estate companies always asked you to do a 30, 60, and 90-day price. Because their belief was, if it doesn't sell in 30 days, well, after 60 days, guess what? The market's moved up, now you're going to hit that price. Still isn't sold? Well, now it's time for the 90-day price, because after 3 months, we're going to appreciate enough to hit that price no matter what. That's the old way. Now, why is that the old way? Because it's broken. And there's two main reasons why. The first main reason that we're going to talk about is look at the time to sell and the buying pattern. Now, in some cases, like this neighborhood, you will see that time to sell is actually over 60 days. So there is no such thing as a 30-day price. There is a 60-day price because that's how long it should take for the home to sell. And if you think about this now as, oh, now we've hit our 60-day price, the market's going to keep coming up, guess what? You might now be looking at 120 days because you missed that first price. So all of this starts getting compounded when you start factoring in the time to sell. Why does that matter? That matters because if you start in the buying pattern, when your neighborhood is the most active, sometimes, in most cases, you'll have a large bump in value. Now, large is relative to that neighborhood. Sometimes it can be 1%, sometimes it can be 10%. But the problem is, if you're 120 days shifting your pricing, that buying pattern, you don't know where you're at in the map. So overpricing can throw you out of a buying pattern that you may have started into. The other issue there, if you look at that time to sell and buying pattern combination, you might not know that you're overpriced for a significant period of time. If you have a neighborhood that has a long time to sell and you start out not in the buying pattern, now you're hitting the buying pattern, but guess what? You're still overpriced. Now you're at the reset, 90 days in, and now you're going to be out of the buying pattern and trying to make up time for it. If you overprice, you're going to throw yourself into a lot of confusion, a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts, and a lot of anxiety for you and your sellers that honestly is not worth your time. The other reason why that old 30, 60, 90-day method doesn't work anymore is because the world's different. Now, this method was invented a long time before the internet and the consumer data revolution occurred. Now, I call it the consumer data revolution because right now you can go to Google and you can find any house data you want. Stuff that used to be restricted to agents only and found in databases hidden in dark rooms and cellars all over the world is now out there for free. Because of that, all this information is out there and buyers can look at it. They can go to Zillow.com, they can go to Realtor.com, they can go all over the web and find this information. And what that causes is stigma to arise. If a buyer looks at your house and you've overpriced and now you're looking at that, let's say 90-day price because you're up there, they see that your house has been sitting for 90 days when everything else in your neighborhood sold for 45. Guess what they start asking themselves? What's wrong with this house? Any house that sits for a long period of time is really going to tap into fears that something might be wrong. And we demonstrate this with the pond, with the pricing pond, where we talk about properties that sit for too long, kind of sink to the bottom. They tend to hit, if you imagine a farm pond, when you step in one, you get that mud and that muck on your foot. They tend to hit that. So guess what? You have to buoy this negative stigma of the house by taking price cuts and floating it up to the place where it actually gets offers and gets off the market. So what ends up happening is you end up having to hit a point where you're actually underpriced in the future in order to hit what the correct price is. What I mean is if you were on that trend line perfectly, and that's where your house fits because it's exactly what the neighborhood profile suggests it should be, you might accidentally go too high on that trend line, and over time in an appreciating market, that trend line's moving up, but your house won't sell, your listing won't sell until you're below that trend line because that negative stigma has an effect. Now, that's okay, you still got the money for your sellers, right? The problem is we're talking about the hidden cost that you're missing out when you think about that in that way. The hidden cost here is holding costs for how long that your sellers had to hold on to the house. It's an extra mortgage payment, maybe even two. It's the extra marketing costs for you as an agent. And if they wanted to buy a house, maybe they have to wait. Maybe they're under contract on a property and they have to buy it and then lease back part of the property, or all these other costs that have to occur. Maybe they have to get like a bridge loan and cover the situation. Well, guess what? That's all money that's leaking out in this system. Sure, maybe in a 90-day price, you might have gotten up to the point where the house sold. But 2 or 3 mortgage payments can erase any additional value you had because you overpriced. So these are the dangers of overpricing. So the goal that you should have is to price correctly at market value and how to avoid these overpricing dangers. So to avoid the overpricing danger, there's a couple main things you have to really touch on. The first is you have to help your sellers really overcome this idea of the Joneses. Right? It's very easy to look down the street, see a for sale sign go up in a yard, and say, oh, I wonder what they're for sale for. Then you find out. Then it goes under contract and you're wondering, I wonder what they got. Pretty soon after, when it closes, you see, oh my gosh, they got this much money? Well, we should get at least that much too. But sometimes they had a feature that your sellers didn't. Maybe they had a finished basement that your sellers don't. Maybe they had a fully fenced yard while your sellers only partially. Maybe it's actually just bigger square feet. These are things that you have to be able to explain and show in a very visual manner. And that's why we love the scattergram, because we can really clearly distinct these two ideas or these differences between properties in a way that anyone can understand. And with that scattergram comes the other key, which is use better info. Out there, like I said, all the data is available to the customer. So you have to give them patterns and graphs and kind of data breakdowns that they can understand and make sense of numbers and random statistics. You can go out and find statistics on your area easily, but are they actually answering questions your customers are going to ask? Use better info, answer those questions, and help them see what the time to sell should be. Help them to see the buying pattern. Help them understand what compares their house to others in their neighborhood, and then even go into positioning and show them how they position against other competition now, so they can really predict their own customer experience and really know exactly what to expect and exactly why the price that you're recommending is the right one. Not a $5,000 bump, not a little bit higher and then maybe we'll get a lower offer. The correct price is the correct price because it matches that market value. A competitive market analysis is a super powerful tool that you will probably have to try time and time again. The thing is, it's not just a pure science. It's a little bit of art and science mixed together. And as you get better at it and as you get more confident in it, your customers and your clients, they'll feel it and they'll know it. And the best thing about it is you'll avoid these dangers of overpricing and really help them get where they need to be on time, which will lead to you getting to help more of their friends through referrals do the exact same thing. I hope you liked this video. I hope it either inspired you or gave you some ideas for your pricing. If you do, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. We release videos like this every week to help you master pricing, because we truly believe that pricing is a tool you can and should use in every part of your business.